Holy Gospel of our Savior Jesus Christ, according to Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord Christ.
Whoever welcomes you welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. Whoever welcomes a prophet in the name of a prophet will receive a prophet's reward, and whoever welcomes a righteous person in the name of a righteous person will receive the reward of the righteous. And whoever gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones in the name of a disciple, truly I tell you, none of these will lose their reward. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Please be seated. The Bible's a long book, and there are lots of ways of looking at it. It's a lot of little books put together, and each one tells the story in a slightly different way. But there are a number of ways of looking at the overall drift of the story. One way is, and the way I'm going to talk about this morning, is a story that begins with God creating everything that is, creating it out of pure joy. He saw everything that he'd made, and it was very good. Creating humans to live in this paradise in relationship with him, and giving them just this one rule about what they should do. And of course, they break faith with him and begins the whole long story of the Bible. God tries to reach out to them again. He selects Abraham and says, if you'll go and follow my lead, I will give you children, and I will make of them a great nation, more than the sand more people than the sand on the beach. They will be my people, and I will be their God. The world will be blessed through them. And of course, then decades pass, and there is no child, and so Abraham begins to fall away, and that begins the story that is repeated over and over again through the gospel, through the Bible, the story of humans falling away from this covenant that God has made with Abraham, and God over and over and over again welcoming them back into the covenant, calling them into relationship with him. And it's a story that we hear especially through the prophets, who over and over again, speaking on behalf of God, in the voice of God, say that the people have been like unfaithful spouses, unfaithful to their relationship. They've gone off after the new shiny God. They've made gods of things that shouldn't be God, like money or status or whatever. They have just gone away at the least provocation. This famous story of the Israelites following Moses through the desert. Moses goes up to talk to God on the mountain. It takes too long coming down, so they get all their gold together, they melt it, they make it into a calf, an idol of I think Astarte, one of the Egyptian gods, and start worshiping him. And that is the story that we hear throughout. So if you accept that as at least one of the themes that runs through the Bible, this way that the second bit of the Bible, our New Testament, tells the story of Jesus, is as the opposite of that, someone who is faithful to the covenant of God. So Jesus is baptized by John the Baptist. He comes up out of the water, he hears the voice, "You are my beloved Son, in you I am well pleased." Goes off to be tested by Satan, and Satan says, "If you are the Son of God, then do this. Make bread out of these stones. Throw yourself off the spire of the temple to prove that you will be protected by God." And what Jesus says, in answer to all three of the things that Satan says in the beginning of Matthew, is, no, I'm not going to try to imagine what it means to be this particular thing, the Son of God. I'm just going to be a faithful Jewish person. I'm going to do what it says in the book of Deuteronomy. So, man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. That's the way I'm going to try to live. Do not test the Lord your God. That's the way I'm going to try to live. Worship the Lord your God and only him. That's the way I'm going to live. So, over the course of time, he says that the first and greatest commandment, the commandment that on all of which the whole Old Testament is based, is love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And he simply lives his life in complete faithfulness to this vision of what it means to be living out the dream of God. He spends all his time teaching people about loving one another, spending his time healing them. He heals without any kind of precondition. He doesn't ask people to say they believe in him, or that they believe in God, or that they believe anything about anything. They come, they're in need. He loves them the way God loves us. He simply loves them. And as a result, he falls afoul of the religious leaders and also the political leaders, who all feel threatened in one way or another by his vision of what life should be like. And so at the crucial moment, he chooses, they give him a moment when he has a choice. You can either compromise or give up your vision, or you can die. And he chooses faithfulness. He chooses something about the way that he's experienced his relationship with God convinces him that even death cannot break this bond. And so he chooses death, and lo and behold, God raises him from the dead 3 days later. So this moment of his death, this moment is the moment when he chooses his vision. He chooses the way he lived his life over even the continuance of his life as he knew it. And that's why our ancestors, when they talked about it, when they really talked about what was at the heart of their faith, it was his death. They taught. That's why we do. That's why we hear, the whole Passion story every Palm Sunday. I did a Bible study a couple of months ago over in Central Claremont, and we were doing 1 Corinthians, and you may know in 1 Corinthians 11, where Paul is talking about communion, what communion is about. He says that when we break the bread and drink the cup, we proclaim the Lord's death until he comes again. Well, people read this and they say, well, why would you say that? Why don't we say we proclaim the Lord's resurrection until he comes again? And the reason, I think, is that it is in his death that Jesus gives us everything he has to give us. The resurrection is great, and it's an inevitable, as it turns out, part of it's a single unit with his death. But the resurrection is all about God, and there are lots of places in the Bible that talk about the power of God. The death of Jesus is when he shows us the possibilities of living out his life and the importance of the way he lived. So that is one way of thinking about the story of the gospel, that it is about what it means to live as faithful people. And this morning, Jesus is at the end of a 3-Sunday selection where he tells his followers what it's going to be like to be disciples. And he tells them to do what he's done, to go out and to care for people, to care for people just because they are people you received without cost, give without cost, go out there and live the law of love, live the dream of God, and show people what it means to live the way God lives. And he says, don't be afraid, because in the end, victory is ours, but don't don't count on victory in the short term. Just go and do it. There's going to be, it's going to cause conflict. People, just as people ultimately would find with Jesus, people are going to find themselves threatened by your law of love, by your caring for people, whether they are people that other people approve of or not. You're going to be eating dinner with people that people don't approve of. You're going to be calling people into a relationship with you that are people that other people are going to disagree with, but that's okay, because even love can cause conflict, and you know that you are treating people the way God treats you and the way God has treated people throughout all of history. And so we come to the end of it, the climax of the whole thing, where he says, and remember that when people receive you, when people welcome you, they are welcoming me. And when they welcome me, they're welcoming the one who sent me. When people, even if you just give a cup of water in the name of a disciple or a prophet or a righteous person, that is enough. Just a cup of cold water. And for Matthew, this is so important that he'll repeat it in the famous parable in Matthew 25, where he says, the king is sorting out the sheep from the goats, and he says to one team, when I was thirsty, you didn't give me a cup of cold water, and to the other team, when I was thirsty, you gave me a cup of cold water, and they say, well, when did we do this? And he says, even as you did it unto the least of these, you did it unto me. This is the heart of the gospel as Jesus proclaims it. And think about the courage this takes. Jesus is sending them out to give hospitality and to receive hospitality and to trust that this relationship that they are building will guide people, will cause people to recognize the hand of Jesus and the hand of God in their lives. It sounds so simple, but it is a choice that we make every day throughout our lives, the choice about whether to love or not, and whether to look at the people in front of us and see love or not. And it is the invitation that Jesus gives us every day. So it's a simple story that went thousands of years in the making, and leads to where we are right now. How are we going to go out and see ourselves as bringing love to people we like, people we don't like, people we agree with, people we don't agree with, and how are we going to see them in a generous way, the way that we would see someone who we love. This is the sacrifice that we are invited to, the sacrifice that shows that we are living our lives in a kind of sync with God. The kingdom of heaven is close at hand.